U.S.-Mexico-Canada, USMCA, Trade Agreement, updated July 1, 2020. Overview. On November 30, 2018, President Trump and the leaders of Canada and Mexico signed the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA. USMCA revises and modernizes the North American Free Trade Agreement, NAFTA, in place since 1994. USMCA replaces NAFTA as of July 1, 2020 pursuant to Trade Promotion Authority, TPA. The administration provided the required consultations and notifications to Congress. TPA and other key dates for USMCA. August 30, 2018. Notification to Congress of intent to sign agreement with Mexico. September 30, 2018. USMCA draft text released. Advisory Committee reports released. November 30, 2018. Agreement is signed. January 29, 2019. List of required changes to U.S. law delivered to Congress. April 18, 2019. International Trade Commission, ITC, report released, extended due to government shutdown. May 30, 2019. Draft Statement of Administration Action, SAA, and text of the agreement submitted to Congress. December 13 and 16, 2019. Implementing legislation introduced in House and Senate, H.R. 5040 and S. 3052. December 17, 2019. USMCA implementing legislation approved in the House by a vote of 385 to 41. January 16, 2020. USMCA implementing legislation approved in the Senate by a vote of 89 to 10. January 29, 2020. President Trump signed legislation PL 116-113. On December 10, 2019, the United States, Canada, and Mexico agreed to a protocol of amendment to the original USMCA text. The revisions include modifications to key elements of the original text regarding dispute settlement, labor and environmental provisions, intellectual property rights, IPR, protection, and steel and aluminum requirements in the motor vehicle industry rules of origin. The revised agreement provides for a facility-specific rapid response labor mechanism to address worker rights provisions. Key provisions. USMCA, composed of 34 chapters and 12 side letters, retains most of NAFTA's chapters, making notable changes to market access provisions for autos and agriculture products, to rules such as investment, government procurement, and intellectual property rights, IPR, and to labor and environment. New issues, such as digital trade, state-owned enterprises, and currency misalignment are also addressed. Market access. Motor vehicles. While NAFTA phased out tariffs on automotive imports among the three countries, subject to rules of origin, ROO, requirements of 62.5% content for autos, light trucks, engines, and transmissions, and 60% for all other vehicles and automotive parts. USMCA tightens ROO by including the following: new motor vehicle ROO and procedures, including product-specific rules and requiring 75% North American content. Wage requirements stipulating that 40% to 45% of auto content be made by workers earning at least $16 per hour. A requirement that 70% of a vehicle's steel and aluminum must originate in North America. Changes to USMCA require that steel be melted and poured in North America. Streamlining of ROO certification enforcement. To provide manufacturers time to adjust, motor vehicle ROO will not enter into force until January 2021. Table 1. Select USMCA changes to NAFTA. Dairy. USMCA increases U.S. dairy access up to 3.59% of Canada's dairy market, but it does not dismantle Canada's supply management system. Canada also removed its Class 7 pricing for ultra-high filtration, UHF, milk. In return, the United States expanded import quota levels for Canadian dairy and sugar products. Dispute settlement. USMCA maintains the NAFTA state-to-state mechanism for most disputes arising under the agreement. It also retains the binational dispute settlement mechanism to review trade remedy disputes. However, USMCA eliminates investor state dispute settlement, ISDS, for Canada after the termination of NAFTA, maintains ISDS only between the United States and Mexico for claimants regarding government contracts in the oil, natural gas, power generation, infrastructure, and telecommunications sectors, and maintains U.S.-Mexico ISDS in other sectors provided the claimant exhausts national remedies first. USMCA removes procedures allowing a party to block the formation of a dispute settlement panel. Intellectual Property Rights, IPR. NAFTA was the first free trade agreement, FTA, to include an IPR chapter. USMCA retains NAFTA's core protections for copyrights, patents, including exclusivity periods for test data, trade secrets, trademarks, and geographical indications, as well as specific enforcement requirements. The revised USMCA removes provisions on biologic data protection, among other changes. USMCA provisions include copyright term extended to 70 years, prohibitions on circumvention of technological protection measures, criminal and civil penalties, protections for trade secret theft, including by state-owned enterprises and cyber theft, and copyright safe harbor provisions on ISP liability. Energy. Although USMCA removes NAFTA's energy chapter, it adds a new chapter with provisions recognizing Mexico's constitution and the Mexican government's direct ownership of hydrocarbons. Existing foreign investors in the energy sector likely remain protected by similar provisions as those in NAFTA. Mexico appears to be legally bound by its 2013 constitutional energy reforms in the energy sector. Labor and Environment. USMCA revises NAFTA and incorporate provisions to provide the same dispute mechanism as other parts of the agreement. USMCA requires parties to adopt, maintain, enforce, and not derogate from statutes and regulation regarding the International Labor Organization (ILO) Declaration of Rights at Work. Adopt, maintain, enforce, and not derogate from environmental laws, including 7 multilateral environment agreements. USMCA has new provisions affecting labor and environmental disputes that shift the burden of proof to the responding party that a complaint affects trade and investment unless otherwise demonstrated. USMCA also includes a rapid response mechanism for worker rights complaints at covered facilities, Mexican labor reform monitoring, creation of a new interagency committee on labor with reporting requirements to Congress, and enhanced anti-worker violence and forced labor provisions. Government Procurement, GP. NAFTA sets standards and parameters for government purchases of goods and services and opportunities for firms of each nation to bid on certain contracts for specified government agencies above a set monetary threshold on a reciprocal basis. The USMCA provisions only apply to U.S.-Mexico procurement, while Canada remains covered by the more recent and comprehensive World Trade Organization Government Procurement Agreement, GPA. However, the monetary threshold for the GPA is higher at $180,000 as compared to NAFTA's $25,000. E-commerce, data flows, and data localization. The USMCA has new digital trade provisions, including prohibiting customs duties on electronically transmitted products and limits on source code disclosure requirements. USMCA contains broad provisions on cross-border data flows and restrictions on data localization requirements. NAFTA did not contain digital trade provisions. New USMCA provisions. Binding obligations on currency misalignment. A sunset clause requiring a joint review and agreement on renewal at year 6. In lieu of mutual agreement at the time, USMCA would expire 16 years later. A new chapter on state-owned enterprises, SOE. De minimis customs threshold for duty-free treatment set at 117 for Canada and Mexico. Tax-free threshold set at 50 for Mexico and C40 for Canada. Allowing a party to withdraw from the agreement if another party enters into an FTA with a country it deems to be a non-market economy, for example, China. Issues for Congress. Some issues for Congress include the extent to which TPA's negotiating objectives were met and implications for Congress. Oversight of the effective implementation of the new and revised USMCA commitments. Whether new provisions on labor and environmental enforcement meet congressional concerns. How USMCA revisions will affect the future of U.S. trade policy given its reduced commitments in some areas and expanded commitments in others. See also, CRS and Focus IF 11391, USMCA, Amendment and Key Changes, by M. Angeles Villarreal and Ian F. Ferguson. M. Angeles Villarreal, Specialist in International Trade and Finance. Ian F. Ferguson, Specialist in International Trade and Finance.